Greetings, friends. Today is the day of 13 Kimi, or 13 death, in the Mayan and Aztec calendar. And at this particular moment in time, we're also intersecting with a new moon. And in the calendar and teachings of Chief Golden Light Eagle, who received star message beings and is also a Lakota or is an Lakota elder who has transitioned already. This is also the whale moon. It's a time of abundance and healing and transformation and connection to the Palladians and the Seven Sisters. We're also on today at the time of the Chinese New Year. And then tomorrow, we're going to begin a new Trenka, one Mazatl, or one Manik. And in some traditions, you could say that that is the energy that's going to govern the whole year. Now, the Mayan and Aztec calendar is a little bit different from the way that we think of time in the Gregorian calendar. In the Gregorian calendar, just the way the calendar is visualized, we have uh, months and days and weeks, and we kind of think of the whole calendar as linear. And in the Aztec and Mayan calendar, the primary way that we visualize the way that passes in those traditions is through circles and the turning of circles. And so, as in recent decades, people have been learning in English speaking cultures more and more about the Mayan and Aztec timekeeping traditions. There's been a lot of curiosity around what's the equivalent idea of uh, January 1st? What's the equivalent idea of the beginning of a new year? And it's a really interesting and kind of complicated question because in the Mayan and Aztec calendar, uh, some tradition keepers don't necessarily think of the year in the same way. They don't necessarily think of the year as having a beginning day. And similarly, in many traditions, I say traditions because there are variations from tribe to tribe. It's not kind of the same way of uniformity that we have with the Gregorian calendar. Uh, there's differences in the Highland Mayan traditions and with the lowland Mayan traditions. And there's differences also from timekeeper to timekeeper or from particular tribe to the other tribe, from like the Maya Quiche to the Maya Yucatec, um, or the Maya Chol. So that all being said, in some traditions, there's something that's the equivalent of the new year that's now considered one Sipakli. So every time one Sipakli comes around, that some day keepers believe that that's the start of the new year. And there's different varying kind of beliefs on when a new year begins. But one of the ways that I've heard the new year as being uh, kind of beginning that resonates with me is that there are four potential days on which the new year can begin. And whichever one occurs roughly around the time that we're in now is when the new year begins. Something that I think is really interesting about this idea that there is not necessarily agreement about when the new year begins is that part of the disagreement is because there's kind of consensus in this culture that in these cultural beliefs that time doesn't really have a beginning, that there's no kind of imprint of time where there's a before time starting and an after time starting. And so in that way, you can't really say January 1st is the time of starting and December 31st is the time of past. So in the same way, you wouldn't really say that one Kimi is when time began, and we've been counting all the one Kimis since then. Instead, the philosophy is more like time has always been in cycle. And so at any moment, you're you're always beginning a new now. And more specifically, what the belief is that at the beginning of any trenka, you're always beginning a new now, a new cycle. That being said, tomorrow on one Mazatl, many traditions will say that that's the beginning of the year. And many traditions of Mayan and Aztec day keepers, primarily Maya, when we say one Mazatl, or excuse me, one one Manik. Mazatl is the Nahuatl word, which would be more Aztec, although the calendar systems are parallel. So one Mazatl in Nahuatl is one Manik, is the equivalent of one Manik energy in Yucatec Maya. So one Manik then becomes kind of the governing energy for the full year. And what I wanted to offer you all is the meditation that I did with the groups that I sat with today, because a few people found it to be very powerful. And I designed this meditation because in the Mayan tradition, this day, today of Kimi, and this still applies, I believe, even if you're watching this video after 1 Kimi, or excuse me, 13 Kimi, 13 death. I would say this energy applies throughout the new moon. But part of the reason I'm sharing any of this is because I think it's a very relevant teaching for right now. And especially as we had an eclipse today, and as we're in a time of deep transformation, and many of us are asking very profound questions about our lives and about the world around us. And so what I want to draw our attention to is that in Mayan tradition, the energy of Kimi, or death, represents the now. And so now, or death, becomes the portal to all time and space. Because it's only through the now that we can access the past or the future, or for that matter, anything spatially. The entry point is always the now. And you can only die in the now. And so I'm just going to read a little bit from a text that helps me to understand the Mayan calendar that was recommended to me from Xochitl Quetzali, a daykeeper who I had the joy of sitting in ceremony with. And so in this book by Kenneth Johnson, Mapping Your Inner Cosmos, he says, as Martin Prechtel writes, in Mayan, now means death. The eternal now is like an axis mundi, or world center. Both the past comprised of that which has been gone and the future yet to come are anchored in the central tree of the eternal now. Living as we do in the eternal now, our eloquent, poetic words and our beautiful lives feed the past and thus create the blossoming of the future. If the gods become drunk with our beauty, we heal the past and we make it new. Thus, the future is created. In fact, the word for the grammatical present tense in some Mayan languages is kame, or kamek, very similar to the word kimi, which is death. Death is the present moment, and death can only happen in the eternal now. It cannot happen at any other time. Death transforms the present into the past, giving birth to the future. If we live a life of true beauty and eloquence, our death will feed the soil of the present and thus allow us to participate fully in the creation of the future. Therefore, we are not fully cooked in the glorious oven of human life until we die. Death completes us. So I thought this idea of death as the axis mundi, or the world tree, or the tree of life, is a very powerful one. And this idea of coming more into the now, and as we bring more of our power into the now and into our own internal axis mundi, we place our power closer to the fulcrum of possibility, and we are better able to leverage our full potential. And so I'm going to share with you all an image here. And this is an image that I drew inspired by uh, the archaeological and artistic work of Linda Scheel, who uh, helped to translate some of the Mayan glyphs in Palenque. And these are the 4 visual representations of what in the Mayan language or culture are called the 4 chalks. And the 4 chalks are the 4 lords that hold up the 4 corners of the universe, the 4 energies of the 4 different directions. And then I also have below there the names of the different directions in Nahual. And in the center is a representation of the axis mundi and the world tree that moves or connects the lower realm to the middle realm and to the upper realm, which is called Waka Chan. And so this image is referencing a number of different drawings and uh, replications from images in Palenque and also ceramics of that same time period. And what we're going to focus on for this meditation is Wankan-chan, which is the world tree or the tree of life, which connects the 3 realms: the lower realm, Xibalba, the middle realm, this kind of earthly plane, and the upper realm, the celestial realm. And in South America, you also hear of these different realms. In South America, primarily, these realms are represented through animals. So the lower realm being represented by the snake or the anaconda, the middle realm being represented by the jaguar, and the upper realm being represented by the condor. So they're just slightly different ways of thinking of the same energy, but the idea being that there is the potential through the central axis to connect across space-time and across multiple different directions. And so that's what we're going to work with today in this meditation to help bring us more fully into the now. So I invite you to become comfortable. Find a way of being in your body that's pleasurable. And then see if there's a way that you can adjust your body that's slightly more pleasurable. And then take a moment in your space to just look around and allow your eyes to land on something that gives you pleasure. It could be a lot of pleasure or a little bit of pleasure. It could be a color or an image, but something you enjoy. And then begin to play with the focus of what you hear and identify something in the sounds around you that gives you pleasure. Maybe it's a sound in this recording or a sound in the space where you are. But allow your ears to tune in and hone in on something that you enjoy. And next, I'd like you to connect to your body. And find something of a sensation. Could be a way that you're bringing gentle touch to yourself. It could be something that you're feeling internally, or your quality of breath. But find a way to connect to your body that feels pleasurable. And just begin to bring your awareness to your breath. Just noticing how your breath is, the quality of your breath, the pace of your breath. And I'd like you to imagine a tree. Bring a tree to your mind's eye. This might be a tree from where you live right now, your favorite tree to walk by or connect to or make offerings at. This might be a tree from your childhood or a tree from your ancestral lands. It might even be a tree from a story that you've read that has meant a lot to you. But bring this tree to your mind's eye and just look at it lovingly. And with a little bit of softness and bewilderment at the mystery of this tree. The mystery that allows this tree to exist so perfectly in creation. And then you'll hear an invitation from this tree for you to deepen your understanding of it. And when you're ready to accept that invitation, just like a hologram, you will find yourself able to merge with the tree. Your physical being will soften and you will be able to enter the tree. And it will be unclear where you end and where the tree begins. And from here, you can feel your feet and your toes extending into the earth like roots. You can feel the soil and the worms. You can feel the rocks and the fungi. You can feel the electric pulses that move underground and the water that gets passed up into your being. And then you move your attention to your middle realm, to the trunk of this tree. And just notice that shift in your awareness. Notice how the trunk feels in your body. Maybe a sense of stability and clarity. And just expand into the clarity of that space, the specificity of that trunk. Feel it as the major spinal channel of this entity. The place of conversion and connection between the lower realm and the upper realm. The primary outward face to creatures on the surface of the earth. This trunk is the eyes and ears of the middle realm. And then let your awareness float to your shoulders and neck and head. As you begin to connect to the branches of the tree and the leaves. And you can feel your energy dispersing outwards in many different directions towards the sky beings. You can feel the density of the lower and the middle realms fall away as you connect to the sun, to the rain, to the clouds. And to the extra dimensionals. You might bring your awareness to all your different branches, to all your different leaves. Feeling them move in the wind. And feeling how, as you move in the wind, Your trunk might feel that influence, but it still knows its core direction and its core essence. And then bring your awareness now back to the trunk and to your own heart. And feel your heart beating within this tree. You might even feel it pulsing alongside the tree. Just as the water moves within the tree, blood circulates throughout your own body. And you might even begin to feel yourself synchronize with the tree. And as you synchronize with the tree, you can feel the tree is synchronized between the three realms. The tree is synchronized with the pulse of the earth. At the very core of the earth, this tree feels its pulse. And it beats in alignment with that pulse. And the tree also feels the electromagnetic pulse of the heavens. And it is moving its own internal electricity in a harmonized frequency with that movement of energy from the heavens. And just feel how easy that is for the tree, how it happens in a kind of automatic, natural, consistent fashion. And then just notice, as you notice, your own movement of energy, your own internal pulsing, your own sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system begins to harmonize with that of this tree automatically, without you having to do anything. You are now harmonizing with the tree at a cellular level. And as you do that, you can feel into a field in which all beings in the middle realm have access to this shared pulse, this shared synchronicity. And you feel yourselves accessing this networked connection through your focus on the now, through your ability to listen in the now. And so just feel that pulse with me. As we synchronize also through this recording, we are also pulsing together. And we are pulsing in the now moment with everyone who will ever watch this video. We are harmonizing with all of creation. And allow yourself to just relax into that remembering. Knowing there's nothing you need to do. It's all being done. And it's being done through you. and through us with ease and with love as we synchronize in the now moment. And so just take a few moments to open your heart and your internal time crystal to the now from this axis mundi, this tree of life. See if you can feel more deeply now. If you can be here now even more. Take a moment for yourself to explore. And when you're ready, you can thank this tree for teaching you, for the wisdoms it shared, the lessons it offered. And you can remove yourself from the hologram of the tree and rematerialize in the physical realm as a new being now informed by this experience you've had, by this new sense of understanding that you've gained. And you can return to the physical space where you are and look again around for something in the room that you find pleasure with visually. You can touch yourself to help bring you back to this realm, which is now a new now. And I'll conclude our meditation today with just a final reflection on the now moment. And our capacity to time travel and multiverse hop. Many wisdom teachers for centuries have encouraged us to be present in the now with what is, to not fight it or deny it. And many also have encouraged us to find the avenue to enjoy and create pleasure in the now, regardless of what's happening. And what I'll say with respect to our meditation for today and the teachings of the different traditions that we explored is that the now is simply another perspective of all that is. And each now that we choose is simply another perspective. And we can choose those perspectives passively or consciously, so we can determine how we move through the multiverse and how we shift through space-time. And that's a skill that many of us are awakening to, is how to do that work more consciously. And as we are learning and refining that skill, it's very important that we never deny the perspective that we have at a given moment. So until we become, or as we become, more skilled or agile at shifting in the ways that we want, the ways that we prefer, the ways that are more easeful and pleasurable, the next best thing that we can do in the present moment is to never deny or negate the experiences we are actually having. And to look at what we see in front of us with the gaze of a loving parent, witnessing the wonder and beauty of mystery. And so I invite you into that practice for yourself and with us here at Shemek Balam. You're welcome to join our family. There are a number of ways to do so. Through our classes or mentorship programs. But more than anything, I just invite you to be an ally in this process of learning how to lovingly gaze at all of creation. With eyes of wonder. For the complexity of all that is. Because from that perspective, none of us are apart and all of us are included. And as we move into that world together, we create a space where all of us have a sense of belonging. All of us feel safe. All of us feel loved and included. All of us have a sense of meaning and purpose. And all of us feel our own worthiness and right to existence. And that's a practice that is something that is ongoing in each moment. Learning how to create that feeling for ourselves and for one another. And so I invite you to join us in that Sangha, in that work. And we love you and look forward to connecting with you in synchronous ways and in perfect time.